Hello listeners, Jordan here. I just want to let you know that you can listen to Nighttime early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime.
You are listening to Keep Canada Weird, a weekly weird news roundup by the Nighttime Podcast.
Hello listeners, and welcome to the weekly Keep Canada Weird discussion series. If you are new here, my name is Jordan Bonaparte, and in Keep Canada Weird, my pal Aaron Airport and I seek out and explore the more offbeat news stories that played out across Canada over the past week. In tonight's episode, which we recorded on the evening of May 7th, 2024, we hear about two stories of rat invasions, we cover the 3 Quebec men whose underground Facebook sperm donation business has resulted in over 600 pregnancies, and we talk about the new lease on life being given to people who steal gasoline in New Brunswick. So let's get into it. Handsome Aaron Airport, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, my friend. How are you today?
Good. You drinking anything over there?
Yeah, I got a Coca-Cola can here that has Coca-Cola in it. It is 0 sugar, 0 caffeine.
Oh, fantastic. I'm sure the stuff in there instead of sugar is way better for you, so good. I'm having some tea.
Hey.
Sorry, I don't want to criticize you. What you drink is fine by me.
Yeah, that really hurt me, actually.
Sorry, I went for a walk today and I'm feeling like a health nut, so I want to just make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, well, how about all that caffeine and that tea you're drinking?
Yeah, it's a problem. Let's move on to something better. I met someone today named Mark. I sold him some Harry Potter figures. He recognized my voice as being the guy from the Nighttime Podcast, and he said, I love Handsome Aaron Airport.
No. Where's he? Well, I was going to say, where's he from? Obviously, Halifax. But...
He flew in from Winnipeg to buy the Harry Potter figures from me in Halifax.
Oh, wow.
Dummy.
Wow, what a loser.
We got a lot to get into tonight. Anything you want to say about your personal life or what you've been up to since our last show? Do you want to address some of the things that went on behind the scenes during last week's recording?
Oh.
Listeners don't know.
They don't know because the editing team at Keep Canada Weird really did a wonderful job of hiding the fact that I had some kind of a stomach bug last week. And while we were recording, I had to vomit several times.
I think 3 times, if I remember correctly.
Well, I had to get up and walk away 3 times.
Yeah, it's...
but I think I only vomited twice.
There, I just cut our mics for a second. Are you okay?
Oh, not feeling good.
Okay. Let me know if you want to stop.
Struggling here, yeah. Struggling.
Or if you need a break or something.
Yeah, I'm going to get up and just walk around for a sec.
Okay.
Oh,
A few moments later.
You all right?
I just puked.
Do you feel any better?
Yeah. I feel better, but I got to wipe puke off my glasses.
Take your time.
Oh, God. Let's do this in chunks.
As a testament to your professionalism, during last week's recording, whatever happened to you came on like just as we started, but you powered through it.
Yeah.
For
it was literally like minutes before we were recording. I was like, my stomach doesn't feel great, but I just thought maybe some gas, maybe whatever. And then once I sat down, I was like, oh man, something's happening here.
Yeah. For the listeners, Aaron is a true professional, and we're all so lucky to have him doing this important work to keep Canada weird. Like he will be doing tonight, we have an interesting collection of Canadian news stories that I think collectively will do a great job of showing exactly how uniquely weird this country is. Do you want to get right into the stories, or do you want to hear a voicemail first?
I always want to hear a voicemail or two first.
I figured you did. I'm going to play a voicemail from a listener named Maddie. I think this voicemail will maybe illustrate how important the work we're doing here is. Listen to Maddie's reaction to our coverage of the hammerhead worm invasion from last week's episode.
Hi, Jordan and Aaron. Just want to say I'm a big fan of the podcast, first of all, but this is in response to your most recent Keep Canada Weird, the one that was recorded on April 30th, which coincidentally is my birthday. I listened to it last week as I was leaving work, and I was freaking out about the worms and the cockroaches. And then today I was at work. I'm from the US. I work in a national park. And I stepped out my office door and I glanced down and I saw a worm that looked a little weird. It was very small. And I was like, I should look this up just to make sure, because I noticed it had kind of a flat head. And it was, I believe, indeed one of those hammerhead worms. I know they've been spotted in the US before, and they're an invasive species. And so I looked up what to do to kill a worm, a hammerhead worm. You should put salt or vinegar on it. Thankfully, I found some vinegar and I took care of it. But without that episode of the podcast, I would not have known what I was looking at. And I might have attempted to help it into the dirt like I did the earthworm that I found right before then, because it, rained and they were all over the place. But thank you. Even though your podcast is about Canada, you helped me here in the States protect our natural resources. So thanks so much. Keep doing what you're doing. Bye.
First of all, happy belated birthday, Maddie.
Yeah, April 30th. I'm going to share another little coincidence about her birthday. It's the exact same birthday as my father.
Really?
Yeah,
You know
yeah. Isn't that special?
I think that's cool. We're helping. She works on a national park in America. So, she prevented the worm invasion. I'm assuming this was the first hammerhead worm to appear in that national park. They would have took the whole thing over had she not been a Keep Canada Weird listener, a Keep Canada Weird correspondent, and a member of the Keep Canada Weird Army. Maddie, I want to let you know that by having your voice aired on the show, I'm going to send you a badge that you can use to show people that you are an official correspondent and member of the Keep Canada Weird Army. So email me your mailing address, and I will have that sent right out to you. I'm trying not to sound too Canadian with my oats.
Yeah, because I think a good way for her to verify her address, she should send a picture of her driver's license so we can also verify her birthday, just so that we know 100% for sure that April 30th is her birthday. Because not only is she claiming that April 30th is her birthday, it's also my father's birthday. It's also the personal tax deadline here in Canada, April 30th.
Oh, it's a very big day for everybody.
Yeah, so I think it's extremely important that we 100% verify her birthday is in fact on April 30th before we spend too much more time on it.
What if she sent a photo of herself like pinky swearing? Not of herself, but of her hand in a pinky swear position. Would you take that?
Well, that could be taken a number of different ways. She could be threatening us with some kind of a finger hook.
Oh, that's
like,
true.
I've got a finger hook and I'm going to cut you. There could be a number of, she could be saying, I'm going to break your fingers if you question my birthday ever again.
Okay, let's move. I believe you, Maddie. You can deal with Aaron separately. I will send you the friggin' sticker without you having to send me your license. Let's get into the stories, handsome Aaron Airport.
Let's do it.
Do you want to start with too many kids in Quebec? Do you want to start with a rat invasion? We also have gas thefts, but I want to save that for the end.
I want to get the rat stuff out of the way because it's gross. So I want to put it to bed as quickly as possible.
Let's put the rats up front, and maybe it's a good segue because we go from Maddie, who works at a national park sort of thing, which involves animals, which is a topic we often discuss here. What we see when we're monitoring Canadian news sources, we are experiencing, or Aaron and I have identified an increase of animal-related aggression towards humans, something we'll refer to on the show as the animal uprising. This week, I think maybe for those fearing and planning for the animal uprising, this week may be a real turning point. We have stories of not one, but two stories of rat invasions occurring right now in Canada that are very troubling. Let me tell you a little bit about Elmridge Gardens. Elmridge Gardens is a quiet, traffic-controlled neighborhood in Ottawa, Ontario, made up mainly of townhouse-style homes with private yards. The neighborhood was seen as a lovely place to raise a family, at least until the rats came.
A month of, I want to say, hell.
For more than 20 years, Kyla White and her husband Kelly have never seen a spring like this in this apartment.
There it goes.
Over the past couple of months, dozens of rats have taken over their property, destroying everything in sight.
Thousands of dollars of properties being destroyed. Like thousands. We took the panels off and we noticed the holes.
Her $5,000 hot tub now filled with holes where rats tunneled through it.
Multiple burrows, and I mean multiple, underneath my deck.
Her entire deck had to be dismantled and now ready for the junkyard. Their vehicle's engine crawling with rats at all hours of the day.
When I started, they start dropping out. So, I'm running them over every time I'd move my car.
When I opened up the hood of my husband's vehicle, noticed that they jumped out of there.
And today was no different.
Oh.
White says she has tried multiple times to contact bylaw for help with little to no luck.
Children are here. Animals are here. It's a health issue. It's a safety issue.
This is my spot, and that's all the rat droppings.
In a statement sent to CTV News, the city says they are investigating the rat infestation at this location.
I think we actually have to have a rat hotline, essentially. That's how bad it's become, and it's only getting worse. And that's not just because of LRT, it's because of building construction in general. We're building faster and taller than ever before, and my ward is feeling it.
The couple says they are seeing about 20 to 30 rats per night scurry across their property.
I assume they lived here all winter rent-free, so.
Multiplying faster than anyone can keep up.
You know, I don't know what else to do. I've done everything I could possibly do at my own expense.
CTV News tried contacting the management team in charge of these apartments, but they did not get back to us.
There he goes.
Things are gross. Mice are one thing because they're just like these cute little dots, but the rats we see like in this clip are just these big disgusting things hopping in and out of holes, crapping all over the place, probably spreading disgusting germs all over the place. And it's not a few rats. This place is absolutely infested. In one part of the news clip, the man who's just in the video or in the news clip is describing the amount of rats like in the hood of his truck, and he shows kind of like the ground next to his truck is just piles of rat droppings. They must just live in his car or something. Is this animal uprising related, or is this a one-off situation, Aaron?
I don't think it's animal uprising related, actually.
Really? Okay, I'm surprised to hear that.
This is Rats 101. What's happening here is there's construction in the area that is disrupted the rat population and where they were living and frolicking.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you do that, the rats have to move somewhere. So they make their way over to the next available plot of land that has places for them to scurry into and burrow into and live. And that's what we're seeing here, I think. So I don't think it's specifically, I don't think it's very specifically related to the animal uprising. It's just rats being rats.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that the outcome of that is, or at least the purpose of that news footage seemed to be to get like the city to do something. But I've always understood like if you have animals or rats or ants in your yard or something, that's kind of like your problem and you got to deal with it, even if it's because of construction, a couple kilometers away or something like that. If you had a rat infestation, would you be calling the city or an exterminator?
I'd be calling it an exterminator.
And did you not have rats or mice?
Yeah, I did have a while back an issue there, and I called the pest control company. They came and took care of it, and then I plugged up the.
You weren't on the news or anything?
No, should I?
Maybe you should call the news and let them know what happened at your place.
Yeah, but I think it's a tricky situation. I could see it being an argument made where, something that the city is doing or a developer in the area is doing is causing a rat infestation to people living in the neighborhood. I definitely would make that argument, and I would be fighting it tooth and nail because
give it a try.
It's not like just an exterminator can just come by one person's property there and put a little poison down and be done with it. Mm-hmm. Which is normally like, you have a rat or two when you're a shed or something, or whatever, that'll take care of it. But in this situation, I don't think your run-of-the-mill visit from an exterminator is going to do anything.
Yeah, it's beyond that. And once they like take foot, like once they settle in your area, they breed like crazy. So like these people, it's already such a problem. In there's a couple of the clips in that news piece there, you're just seeing one rat after another, like just running around outside their house. Like it's
Yeah.
if you call
And
an exterminator, you better call the best one in town.
and also these are rental units. So you have a landlord here that is
Oh yeah.
ultimately is going to be
Yeah,
responsible for this situation.
yeah. Good luck dealing with that.
Yeah.
It's everyone knows what is it called, like the landlord special, like the idea of like coming and just like painting a wall, painting over the outlets and the light switches and everything. But yeah, I feel for these people. It'd be pretty disgusting, especially if you got kids and stuff around or pets outside. I'd be pretty freaked out. But there's more. Your belief, at least at this point, maybe I can convince you otherwise, but your belief is that this is an isolated incident, more so connected to the development of the train, the nearby train tracks. But I think it's pretty interesting that a very similar news story is coming out of your neighborhood almost at the
Well,
exact
don't
same
say
time,
neighborhood. Don't say neighborhood.
coming
Island.
from your island.
Municipality,
Okay.
maybe.
Okay. All right. Well, it's from my old neighborhood, the Ashby area of Sydney, Cape Breton Island, Nova Scotia, is in the news for, you guessed it, a rat invasion.
John Sullivan has lived on his property in Ashby for 30 years, and he's sick of finding burrow holes in his backyard.
My neighborhood. We're infested up here with rats.
Sullivan says he's seen 16 rats on his property since the snow melted. A few years back, he found more than 30, and says more should be done to prevent rodents from having the run of his neighborhood.
I witnessed them running on my driveway last week here. One got hit with a car.
Rats in houses, in businesses, outside sometimes only, just out around the yard.
This exterminator says he has been getting more calls lately, some as far away as Antigonish. He couldn't pinpoint any particular reason why, but says springtime often comes with a spike in rodent activity.
There's still some garbage left over from the snow melt. Green bins, bird feeders are out and about, so there's lots of food. And basically, that's what they're looking for.
Everybody has to deal with it on their own, and it's unfortunate, but a lot of the times it has to do with derelict properties.
This CBRM councillor says he recently had to hire a trapper for a raccoon on his own property, and there's nothing the municipality can do in terms of a widespread solution.
We would never be able to have an exterminator go into every property, every street, every neighborhood and try to put down, whether it's live traps or poison or the method of control. We would never be able to do that across the municipality.
Back at his home in Ashby, John Sullivan says he's contacted his councillor and his MLA about the issue, and as a taxpayer feels something should be done.
I shouldn't be here asking or begging for help again. We got a rat problem. Solve it.
You still think this is an isolated incident?
This is what rats do. They appear and then reappear and just be rats. That's what they are. And they're just doing what they do. They're looking for food. They're looking for a little bit of shelter, and that's what they're up to. And they're all over the country, except for, where is it, Alberta?
Yeah, remember that fact? There was one place that didn't have yeah, I think it was Alberta.
Which leads me to believe that there is something that municipalities and governments can do about this. And I think it's all going to be in bylaws that need to be made, because there's a lot of things that people are allowed to do that attract rodents and help rodents reproduce and increase in volume. Like, for one thing, like the derelict and abandoned buildings, not being strict enough on that.
Piles of crap in your yard.
Yeah, I think the state of your yard is key. And I don't know, I'd have to think more about this, but bird feeders are a big source of rat food, essentially, because you've got a bird feeder in your property. the seeds and everything fall down to the ground, and the rats come around and they eat it up. And
Yeah, my mom had a problem with that at her place. She had a bird feeder like kind of hanging off of her window, so when the birds would eat, you could look out your window and see them. But then it turned into she was having like rats come up her yard, like and hanging out underneath the bird feeder, grabbing the stuff. But she bought a specialty feeder that doesn't allow the seeds to drop down. They like get caught in something. But yeah, I guess I went into this thinking this is an animal uprising thing, but I think maybe you got me convinced, and it's just maybe it's spring and rats are busy and people are complaining, so it's on the news.
yeah,
It's
I
that
mean,
simple.
I think we need to be really vigilant and strict on what people are leaving in their yards that are going to attract rodents. And I think we need to be, and also I think we need to be harder on our municipalities to start coming up with legislation that makes sense to help address the issue. If you can get the populations down, then maybe you can start to eliminate them from your areas.
Okay. Well, you heard it here first. We're going to have a rat convoy and we're all going to Ottawa and we'll get it shut down. Let's move on to the next story, though. The segue to the next story is the fact that rats breed like crazy. You know, you have a couple rats in your yard. A couple months
Yeah.
later, you have 30 rats in your yard.
No, I like this transition. I like where you're going. I know where you're going. It's wonderful.
3 men from a family in Quebec are turning out to be some of the most prolific sperm donors in Canadian history, possibly even the history of the modern world.
It is a shocking, almost unbelievable story. 2 men in Quebec from the same family have fathered more than 200 children. It turns out they'd been sperm donors for women from across the province who turned to sperm donors to try to get pregnant. Our colleagues at Novo Info first broke this story, and Maya, there are new developments.
Yes, Mitsumi, and as you say, it really is an unbelievable story, and there are more shocking developments. Our colleagues at Nouveau Info put out a documentary series in the fall called Père sans enfant. Journalists Marie-Christine Bergeron and Maxime Landry worked together to uncover the story and spoke to mothers who were horrified to learn their children had dozens and dozens of half-brothers and half-sisters fathered by men who appear to be serial sperm donors. Now, these are women who wanted to have a child and turned to the internet. They went online and responded to Facebook ads advertising sperm donors. This has been described as a sort of parallel universe of sperm donation, which isn't regulated by Health Canada. And these are men offering to be sperm donors for free online and not through fertility clinics. This investigation revealed that 2 men from the same family had fathered more than 200 children. And after the documentary aired, it quickly became clear there was more to the story. Here's more now from Nouveau Info anchor Marie-Christine Bergeron.
We got a lot of feedback from many mothers, so we realized there was a bigger story. So we continued investigating and we discovered another sperm donor from the same family. So now there are more than 600 children from these 3 men. It's really a never-ending story.
And there is more, a lot more to the story, including concerns about the sperm donors carrying a rare hereditary disease, a genetic disorder that affects the liver and could be passed down to these babies. The 4th episode of this docuseries will be available starting on Monday, May 6th on the Crave streaming service.
So we don't get a lot of info, but we get enough to know that something really weird is going on in Quebec. Like that news clip was, in a big way, was like promotion for that documentary series. I went and looked up the documentary series because I would have watched it, but it's in French and I don't understand the
Well,
language.
subtitles. I'm sure you could squeak by with some subtitles.
Yeah, maybe I'd have to go that route. But it's almost 600, over 600 they're expecting from these 3 guys in the same family that are doing it, or were doing it. I don't know if it's even legal, but they were doing it through Facebook. Would you? That's a thing.
Apparently like that's the thing that shocked me the most about is not the fact that these guys were spreading their seeds like, you know, it was the fact that they were that people were seeking them out for free. Like there was no money exchange. Like they were this wasn't through a regulated
how do they get
facility
it?
that.
Well, that's another side of this. I read that at least one of the men was a sperm donor the traditional way as well, where you would like donate your sperm, and I think they give you some money for it for like an official place or whatever. Apparently, there was some of that going on, but also on Facebook. I don't know if they were doing like, and how would you even find people? Like, I guess there's probably like groups for like people who are suffering with like infertility and stuff.
Mhm.
But without money being exchanged, why were they doing it?
Why? Yeah, like I mean, obviously these guys have some kind of a fixation and a fetish in terms of wanting to probably impregnate as many women as humanly possible.
It must
But
be, right? Like it's just like they're not like that nice of a guys to be like, you know what, guys, like we can help a lot of people. Let's like mail our sperm all over the province to sit even if the cost of stamps, if you mail out 600 um, samples of your sperm, that's over $1,000 in postage, assuming that's how they do it. And I hope it's through mail and not just passing people a little vial of your semen.
I don't know, but I'm just surprised that people looking to get pregnant would go this route to
Yeah.
meet somebody online in an unregulated fashion and get sperm from them for free. Like it just
Hmm.
doesn't make any sense to me. Like I would want to make sure that I was going through the most reputable organization if I was going to be getting
Hmm.
sperm from somebody.
Oh, I remember I wanted to hire someone to mow my lawn for a while. And I was like all over it, like trying to figure out who they were. Should I go with someone who's insured and pay more? And it was this big decision. And that's to mow my lawn without any contracts or anything. Imagine like to have a kid with using these people, like, and you get how complicated it is because in that piece it mentions that it's come out that one of them has some kind of rare genetic disorder.
Hmm.
So and when you go through a reputable, regulated place, like that's the sort of things that they look for. You'll get my understanding at least is when you go through like a sperm donation place, like you will get like some kind of report or something that gives you like, you
Yeah, the
should look out
medical
for this or
history and certain things that you're going to want to know. I'm sure it's not a perfect system, but at
mm,
least there are standards and practices in place to try and make the sperm you're getting the best sperm possible.
yeah. And then there's also, I'm sure when you go through a traditional sperm donation kind of clinic, there's probably contracts and stuff that protect everybody legally. But on Facebook, if you're just giving someone your sperm, like, could he not come after you for like, visitation rights? And he'd be like, well, no, it was a sperm donation thing. I met him on Facebook and,
But
he shook my hand and,
even from the person on the other side, where it's like, is this I'm giving this woman my sperm for free? Is she going to
yeah,
come back at
my
me looking for child support down the road or
yeah,
something?
exactly. Like everyone's taking it's I would think unnecessary risks. I don't know what the weight or demand is to get if you want to become pregnant to get sperm from a fertility clinic or something, but I wouldn't think it would be so restrictive that people are forced en masse to go on Facebook and find strangers who are willing to do it.
Did we cover a story a little while ago about a woman who was suing a guy that she met through a sperm bank for child support and
No,
and was
that
and was won or was going to win?
I don't remember that, but I'd be very curious because that was where my mind went with this case. You hear of
Yeah,
people.
I thought maybe we had covered it, but I know I at least read about it.
Okay.
Um,
Are you having your Keep Canada weird dreams again?
well, anytime you have an episode filled with rats and sperm, my mind just starts
It's
racing.
racing.
Let's see. I'm going to do a quick Google search. It was in the United States in Kansas.
Okay.
Kansas court says sperm donor must pay child support.
Damn, these dudes in Quebec better not read that article. They will be up all night. 600 checks a month they'd be sending out.
Yeah, yeah. So like a Kansas sperm donor caught in the middle of a child support case says he wanted to help a lesbian couple when he made the donation nearly 5 years ago. A judge ruled that William Morota must pay child support, even though he says he signed documents waiving his parental rights.
Dude, I
In
don't know
this
what they would be.
case, think of the child support these guys would be paying with like
With
six
six,
or
oh yeah, that's what I
700
was saying. Like
kids.
they'd be sending out 600 checks a month.
Yeah. It would be an interesting it'll be one of those class action lawsuits, where just like all of the kids like come into the courtroom.
Like looking exactly the same. They all have the weird like facial weirdness, like the same nose as the gimped up dad. Yeah.
looking for back pay. But the thing that worries me the most about this story is not the child support side of it, but you have a lot of people who are related to each other now roaming around one province. And none of them would have any idea that they're related to each other. They're bound to start bumping into each other. They're probably going to be generally in the same age. You're at a nightclub, you meet someone, and you have an instant connection, and you can't quite explain it.
You assume it's
romance.
It's
magic. It's love at first sight.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're kissing your half brother and marrying him, and then divorcing him, and then suing him for child support.
That's how it always ends. We just talked about fertility, sperm. One thing we didn't mention is eggs, but we don't need to mention it because I have a voicemail here from Allie, who is catching up on the show, and yes, she has happened upon egg versus egg.
I love the longer that this goes, and then somebody.
We just need to delete the old episodes.
Yeah.
This will take us to her grave. Here it comes.
Hey, I'm Allie from Abbotsford, British Columbia, and this is the first time that I've ever listened to Keep Canada Weird. So today at work, I was going through to a couple previous ones, and I made it to the egg and ag conversations. And I thought you might want to know that you're not alone in that mistake. I too have made that mistake before. In my town, we have a place that hosts events and a yearly fair, and it's called the Agra Fair. And I've heard this since I've lived here my whole life. I've heard it my whole life. There's big buildings there that used to hold like giant flea markets. If you were to ask where the flea market was, you'd be told it was at the Egg Rec, the Agra Fair fairgrounds. So I, growing up hearing this, was like, oh, the Egg Fair. So I remember the older I got, I'm like, what does the egg have to do with it? They don't even have like an egg mascot at the fair. Like, what the heck? And we never went to the fair growing up. I've actually only been once, but the fair has farm animals, like hog ties, horse running around doing stuff. I've only been once. But I remember as a kid, it was something we drove by a lot. I still drive by it all the time. I remember looking for an egg logo, not seeing one, and then finally it dawned on me. Agra Fair, like agriculture. So you're not alone. For a good portion of my life, I am now 28. I don't remember when this came to my realization, but I was far too old, and I live in a town where it's lots of farms, lots of agriculture, and I spent lots of my early life wondering where the egg was involved. Anyway, I really like the podcast, and I have asked my dad to start listening so I can chat with him about it because I know he's going to like it too. So thanks for what you guys do. You guys are hilarious, and I'm excited to keep listening.
It's good to, to see that there's other victims of this out there like her. That makes me feel a little less alone in this.
Right. Yeah. What makes hers a little bit more humiliating than ours, now that she's come out public about it, is that she's lived there her entire life.
like literally in her town, they have like an egg fair and an egg exhibition ground.
Where's the
Like,
egg?
we could plead ignorance because we're from a fishing community.
Yeah,
like, there's not really a lot of agriculture where we
apparently
are.
we're from rat communities now, but yeah.
Either way, it's good to know that we're not alone. Nobody's perfect. Not Aaron, not Jordan, not Allie. Only Elaine is perfect. Elaine, who wasn't strong enough to come on the show and face Aaron head on. But yeah, I'm glad it's behind us.
Yeah, it is behind us. It was also a nice transition from the sperm story to then transition into a story about eggs, a voicemail about eggs, because sperm fertilize eggs.
That's
yeah,
true.
Thanks.
Let's move on to a story that I'm really excited to share. And this one's going to be a bit of a slow burn because you'll see why I'm so excited for this. Let's start with the overarching issue of the gas theft free-for-all that's about to happen in New Brunswick. Let me ask you this first though, Aaron. Do you buy gas for your car?
Yeah.
Is it expensive?
Well, gas is what, like $1.80 now or $1.89 or something.
Nuts,
It's expensive.
My car, like, and it's weird to say this, but it usually, or it used to for the longest time, cost me like $45 to fill my car's gas tank or something. Now it's like with the price of gas changing, I'm paying like $70, $75, up to $80 to fill the tank of my little Civic. Gas prices are certainly nuts. I don't know how people who don't have good income manage to keep the tank of their car full. I'm sure there is motivation for people out there to steal gas. And it seems like it's happening quite often in New Brunswick, so much that the police were forced to issue a statement about their response to these gas thefts. Let me read you a little bit here. Gas thieves in New Brunswick are likely to be rejoicing in the recent announcement by the New Brunswick Police Association. The police in New Brunswick are no longer responding to reports of gas and dashes in the province. Instead, they're calling on the government to implement pay-before-you-pump legislation.
Proposed change in how New Brunswickers fill their tanks is sparking debate in that province tonight. As we told you yesterday, police say they're going to limit their response to gas and dash cases going forward, and the province should change the law, making it a requirement to pay up front. Reaction to that idea seems to be mixed at best. Here's CTV's Nick Moore.
The prospect of pay before you pump as a law is being pushed by police chiefs in New Brunswick.
I see both sides of it, honestly. For the consumer, it's a lot easier just to gas up and go inside and pay.
Kind of inconvenient. Sometimes you just don't know how much you're going to put in. You just want to see what you've got.
Everyone's treating us like we're going to steal. And why is that? It's because we can't afford anything anymore.
The New Brunswick Association of Chiefs of Police says an uptick in people who are fueling up, then taking off without paying up, could all be prevented with a provincial prepayment law.
It is entirely possible and certainly expected that we could reduce this particular crime, see it gone within a very short period of time.
As of last week, police are only being deployed to a report of stolen fuel if there's an immediate or ongoing matter of public safety.
There's only so many officers on the road. The police argument that the service stations themselves can take action that will prevent the theft and therefore prevent police response or eliminate police response is very valid because they can.
The Convenience Industry Council of Canada had no comment on the changes in how police are treating fuel theft, nor their calls for a provincial pay-before-you-pump law.
I think it'd be a great idea because less crime.
I don't love it because I fill up my tank every time I go get gas, so I don't know how much money I need to put in.
Pay before you pump is already the law in British Columbia and Alberta. It is also being looked at in Ontario. In a statement this afternoon, Public Safety Minister Chris Austin says the provincial government has no plans to require prepayment for fuel. Austin says he's also disappointed that the RCMP and local police are changing how they approach fuel theft and that he will be following up.
I guess I'm not necessarily surprised to hear that the police don't want to respond to these calls and instead want legislation that require gas stations to put the pay before you pump kind of stuff in force. It's just weird for them to come out and say it. Like for the, attention gas thieves, go nuts.
Yeah, I don't find it weird at all because to me it's on the individual gas stations to do it. What's the point of legislation? Like if individual gas stations are having issues with people stealing gas, then they're going to be motivated to want to put in and institute a pay before you pump system. So just leave it up to them to do it. Because what's the legislation? What's going to be the purpose of that? To force them to do it, like to force them?
Well, the purpose of it will be to make it so that the police don't have to deal with these calls and investigate these complaints and all this stuff, because it's taking up a lot of time and money from police. I got some numbers here. Between the year 2020 and 2023 in New Brunswick, there were roughly 5,200 gas theft complaints that used up about 18,000 hours of police time. When you look at just salaries alone, a cop in New Brunswick makes just over $30 an hour. So you're already talking over $500,000 and that's just in salary, not to consider all the other expenses and indirect costs and stuff. So it's costing a ton of money for the police to investigate these like low value thefts. $50 to $100, I guess, would be probably the average. But I guess if by them coming out and saying we're not investigating them, it kind of takes it off the police anyway. So why do they care?
Yeah. So why go as far as to institute legislation when they've already said, okay, we're not spending any more time on this. If you want to address the issue, then institute pay before you pump and be done with it.
Yeah, where the owners of many gas stations want the police to deal with it, because a lot of gas stations don't want pay before you pump, because they want you to come inside and pay and buy a chocolate bar and a pack of cigarettes. But like the whole situation would just work itself out if the police just step out of the picture. Like, deal with it yourself. If people are stealing your stuff, do something to prevent it, just like you would with shoplifting and stuff like that. But so I guess as a gas station owner, you're forever juggling making money versus reducing, like loss prevention, I guess is the word.
How much money are you losing from stolen gas versus how much money you're gaining from somebody buying a lottery ticket or a chocolate bar or a 5-hour energy drink?
Yeah, who drinks those? I feel like if you drank one of those 5-hour energy drinks, which is like a little shot of like what seems to be pure caffeine, I feel like you would be so messed up after you drank one of those. Someday I may do it.
Yeah, I see people do it, when they're on the go and they just want a shot of something. I would never do it. I don't want an early heart attack. I'll wait for my regularly scheduled heart attack.
Yeah.
But I think one of my favorite things to impulse buy at a gas station is like a meat stick.
Oh man, I love those pepperonis. Like a pepperoni.
Yeah,
stick.
like a pepperoni.
Grab a hold of a Slim Jim. Macho Man.
Yeah, snap into a Slim
Jim. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Especially on a long drive. You know what I love to do? If I'm driving from like Halifax to Cape Breton, it's a 5-hour drive. I take it often. I'm often hungry, but I don't want to stop and get a meal somewhere. If I go to a gas station, my kind of killer combo that I love to have when I'm driving is I get a coffee and I get a spicy pepperoni stick and a bag of roasted peanuts. And I feel like the three of those together, those flavors intermingling, I have a bit of a theory. I'm going to sound weird, but if you eat the pepperoni stick first, it's really spicy. And I think that does something to kind of like open up your taste buds, which makes the coffee and the roasted peanuts like 10 times more flavorful. And I find it's just magic. I'm just like
I believe it.
I recommend it for anyone out there.
I like the pepperoni sticks that have the cheese alongside it.
Yeah.
And then that way you're biting into the cheese and the meat at the same time. It's delicious.
That is something. But we're not done here with gas thefts. First of all, whether it's legislated by government or a gas station owner decides to implement pay before you pump, do you have an opinion on it? Like, is pay before you pump okay in your books?
Yeah, it's fine. It's easy. I'm still going to go in and buy my impulse bitems.
Well, that's a good name for them, though. Bitems.
Bitems. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Impulse bitems.
Get your bitems. I'm still going to go in to the gas because I've gone to gas stations before that do make you pay before you pump.
I feel like I'm always paying before I pump.
Yeah. Not all the time. Like in the Cape Breton area of Nova Scotia, you don't see a lot of them. You see like the pay at the pump.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay before you pump. But there are on the mainland of Nova Scotia a lot of gas stations that do make you pay before you pump.
Yeah, it's weird sometimes when you're like in a rural area and you go up to a gas station that's, it's not modernized and there's no debit or anything, and you got to pump and you see the numbers kind of like mechanically change and then you go in and pay. I'm used to going to more modern pay before you pump setup, so I'm just so used to it now. Not paying before I pump would be weird if anything else. I hate having to go in and pay. It's so inconvenient. But here's my point with that question is in that article we just listened to. They did a couple streeters, which is when the journalist just goes up to people and asks them a question related to the story. In this case, it seems like the journalists were hitting gas stations as people were pumping gas and saying, like, what do you think about the new possible pay before you pump legislation? And they have a series of people, there's actually 4 of them, that give their reason why they don't like the pay before you pump style machine. And I had some strong thoughts about all 4 of the complaints against pay before you pump. So I want to go through each of those people one by one with you and see if their complaints carry any weight.
I'm ready.
Okay. So the first person we heard from, we'll call them complaint number 1. So the first person in the article that did not want to see pay before you pump legislation in New Brunswick, here's why.
I see both sides of it, honestly. For the consumer, it's a lot easier just to gas up and go inside and pay.
Did you catch that? They say it's a lot easier as the consumer to just go inside and pay. Do you think that's a valid argument?
No, it doesn't make any sense at all.
It's way harder.
You have to walk a further distance to go from your car into the gas station.
Wait in line.
As
someone's scratching scratch tickets or cashing in scratch tickets and buying cigarettes.
Yeah. The people who buy and then want them to scan their their lotto tickets right away. It's far more convenient to pay at the pump and then get into your car and go.
Yeah, even if you have to pay before you pump it. Let's go on to the second complaint against pay before you pump legislation.
Kind of inconvenient. Sometimes you just don't know how much you're going to put in. You just want to see what you got.
So, ma'am, why don't you want to pay before you pump? It's kind of inconvenient. Sometimes you don't know what you've got to put in. You just want to see what you got. What is that? What is she saying?
She's saying that she never knows how much gas she needs. She has a certain amount in the tank already. She's gassing up and she's going to gas until she reaches the end, until she fills the tank. And she doesn't know how much that is. But what she doesn't realize is that these pumps are programmed where you can just select to just fill the tank.
It's in increments of 20. So you can buy, like when you do pay before you pump, you choose like $20, $40, $60, $80, or like full or something like $100.
Or fill up until
120.
Fill up to $200.
Yeah. So
then you enter in your card, you type in your code, and then you start pumping, and it's only going to charge whatever it was to fill up your tank.
And when the tank's full, it'll stop.
Guess.
Yeah, like you don't need to put it in first. You
don't have to guess.
Yeah, and you don't have to be exact.
Yeah. Well, this woman has never gone to a gas station before in her life, so that's the issue. When the guy, she was probably on a bicycle.
Yeah.
Like when the guy went up there, the reporter is like, "Do you want to talk about how you feel about pay before your pumps?" And then she's like, "Well, I should tell you before you hit record that I have no idea how a gas station works." Yeah, I don't care. I it's almost lunch and I want to go home. So
let's hear if let's hear if advocate against pay before you pump legislation number 3 can convince us.
Everyone's treating us like we're going to steal. And why is that? It's because we can't afford anything anymore.
Everyone's treating us like we're going to steal. And why is that? It's because we can't afford anything anymore. To me, it's kind
So
of
it's
seems like, is she saying why they steal?
yeah, it sounds like she's like, well, I steal gas all the time because we can't afford anymore.
But I don't want to be treated
That's
like
what
that. Because that,
I don't want to be treated like that. And I was celebrating when the police said they were no longer investigating these
yeah,
matters.
it seems like she could have just stopped talking after, like, people treat us like we're going to steal. She wouldn't need to. She didn't need to go that extra like sentence to justify stealing.
Yeah, and they're not treating you like you're going to steal. They're simply just saying, the gas that you're going to pay for immediately after you filled your car with it, we're just going to have you pay for it just before you fill your car. And it's just because some people do steal.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. And it's not a big ask. Like, imagine you go to the grocery store, you bring all the groceries out to your trunk, and then you go in and pay.
Yeah,
It doesn't work
it's
like
like
that. Let's hear
yeah.
advocate against the implementation of pay before you pump legislation in New Brunswick number 4.
I don't love it because I fill up my tank every time I go get gas. So I don't know how much money I need to put in.
Did nobody tell them how these machines work? They have them on the air,
No.
embarrassing themselves.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is that I think the people who gravitate towards or who are willing to talk about these things on the air to a news reporter, they're the people that have no idea what they're going to say. They have no idea how any of this works. They literally have no feasible opinion on the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the people that are willing to do it.
Yeah,
People who understand the issue are probably like, I don't want to talk about that on the air.
I got to get gas and go. I'm busy.
Yeah, I'm busy because I have a job and I'm not just here to steal gas.
But I just feel like all 4 of those people, and those were the only 4 in the news article that were speaking against this legislation. I feel like all 4 of them were like objectively wrong. It's not more convenient to go into pay.
100% wrong. None of them. Yeah.
And like this last one, it was, I don't know, like I fill my tank every time and I don't know how much I need. But that doesn't, you just hit fill until $200.
You just hit fill. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
No,
it.
it's super easy.
Okay.
It's super easy. It's very convenient. It doesn't make a difference. And anybody who has an actual problem with this is a gas stealer.
I think overall, like, this just makes sense. And I felt like that article was just making a mountain out of a molehill, I think is the figure of speech.
Yeah. I think it's an easy thing to institute. Just do it. And anybody, the 5% of the population who has a problem with this, most of them being gas stealers, they're going to get used to it pretty quick.
Yeah, I think so.
And then they're going to think back to it and be like, why was I so mad live on national news about that?
Yeah. Oh, man. Let's start wrapping this up, though. I think we've been through a lot tonight. I still don't believe you're completely over your sickness from last week. I'm looking at you and I'm thinking like he is about to puke on that microphone. But I'm going to keep you for a few more minutes because we got one last thing to hear before we go. A while back, I asked listeners of the show who live abroad, who live outside of our great country of Canada, to let us know why they listen. And I've been getting quite a few responses to that query. They're often interesting, but this one I especially want to share with you. This is Jeff from the great country of America, the wonderful city of Minnesota specifically, letting us know why he listens. First of all, though, before I play it, is Minnesota a city or a state? It's a city.
Minnesota is a city.
That's it. I think so. Okay, let's hear what he has to say. I hope we're not wrong.
Oh my God, we're gonna be talking about this for weeks.
Here you go. Here's Jeff.
Hey Jordan, Jeff from Minnesota here. Short time listener, first time caller. I stumbled upon your podcast through Morbid, and that short hour on Morbid, I needed more of nighttime podcasts. But that is not my actual first experience with Canada. So it started with Trailer Park Boys, and I got through the whole series, and I needed more Canada. Because if this is what Canada is, I need more. And then, once again, stumbled upon your podcast, seeing how weird Canada is. I said, my God, this is just as weird as Trailer Park Boys. And I can relate a little bit whenever we're in the States, and if I'm down in the South and I mention, hey, I live in Minnesota, people go, where is that? Is that Canada? And I just kind of have a goofy look on my face like, sure. So basically, I'm halfway Canadian, living in Minnesota, I guess. And after Trailer Park Boys and listening to your podcast and enjoying every single second of it, I said, you know what? I might as well jump in. I'm 100% Canadian now. So figured I'd be a first-time caller, and hopefully I get on the show. All right. Have a good one, guys. Bye.
I like that. Bye.
But, Jeff, I'm glad to have you listening. I believe he's a true Canadian. He may only know about Canada through Trailer Park Boys and the Keep Canada Weird series on the Nighttime podcast, but I'd say that qualifies. Jeff, you're in.
Yeah.
Email me at nighttime. Jeff, send me an email to nighttimepodcast@gmail.com. Give me your mailing address. By having your voice on the show, you qualify for an official Keep Canada Weird correspondent and Keep Canada Weird Army member swag pack that I will send out to you. And you can use that to show fellow Minnesotians where your real roots are.
People in the good state of Minnesota. It is in fact a state.
Oh, okay. I was thinking Minneapolis, Minnesota, but then I was thinking Minnesota North Stars. That's like a hockey team, wasn't it?
Oh, I don't know, man. The more answers that we give here, the more questions that
and
arise.
the worse we look.
And then just like we should probably end this episode before we dig a hole even deeper than the rats.
Okay, I just Googled it. Minnesota is a state, and Minnesota North Stars was a ice hockey team in the NHL. But usually a hockey team would be a city, not a state. I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Watch Minnesota be a. Anyway, forget it. I'm done talking about that.
Just don't. Yeah. Just put it to bed.
Jeff, you're a Canadian, and we're glad to have you listening, buddy. Anyway, all that said, I think we've done our job here, and let's wrap this up.
Let's wrap it up.
Handsome Aaron Airport, until next time.
Jordan, until next time.
I don't know if I want to go with rats, having way too many kids. Here's what I'll say. Handsome Aaron Airport, until next time, you're someone who's healthy, you have great genetics, great genes. Children of the future would be happy to carry on some of the Handsome Aaron Airport tradition. Why don't you research sperm donation Cape Breton and help some people out?
Jordan, until next time, I will 100% be charging for my sperm.
I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird, but let us also call out to you for even greater support in this. If something weird happens in your neck of the woods, let us know about it. As well, if you have any thoughts, theories, opinions, or feedback on anything we discussed tonight, we'd love to hear about that as well. The best way to reach us is by sending us a voice memo using the app at nighttimepodcast.com/contact. We're excited to hear from you. Now, before we part here, let me end with some thanks. First, a big thanks to Aaron for sharing another evening with me and with you, the listeners of Nighttime. A big shout out to the internet's favorite cult leader, Unicole, who provides our intro and outro voiceovers. And lastly, but most importantly, a massive thank you goes out to each and every one of you listening to Nighttime, as without your interest and your support, this show would be as pointless as it would be impossible. Now, on the topic of support, let me thank the newest subscribers to the premium feed, Charlotte, Martin, and Candace. Thank you for going premium. And for anyone else out there who'd like to support the show, you can help us out in a variety of ways. First of all, a premium feed subscription costs just a couple dollars a month, and that money funds the creation of new episodes. But the premium feed will also give you those episodes 2 days early, give them to you ad-free, and give you access to a full back catalog of episodes. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you can go premium right now at patreon.com/nighttimepodcast. And even if you don't want to go premium, you can still support the growth of the show by simply sharing this episode on social media and telling some like-minded friends why they should listen. Your support in growing this is very much appreciated. Now, until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and let us know if you see anything weird.
Keep Canada Weird is written, hosted, and produced by the Nighttime Podcast.
Hi, it's Ruby from Pennsylvania, and I was just listening to your Nighttime Podcast, and I came across the hammerhead worm thing, and I haven't heard of them. It became a news item down here, But you were talking about chopping them up and then they multiply, which is rather creepy. But I like worms, I like insects, but these little guys, maybe not so much. And then a song came to mind. So I'm just going to put this little earworm, haha, see what I did there, earworm, in your head. So it goes with the, one bottle of beer on the wall song, but you can do it with hammerhead worms. So here we go. Everyone sing along. One hammerhead worm, chop it up and leave it alone. You got 6 hammerhead worms in your yard, 6 hammerhead worms, 6 hammerhead worms. Chop them up and leave them alone. You got 36 hammerhead worms in your yard. This is where it gets complicated, so hang with me. 36 hammerhead worms, 36 hammerhead worms. Chop them up and leave them alone. Now you've got 216 hammerhead worms in your yard. And it's Friday, and I've had my coffee. It was not Tim Hortons, thank God. I love you guys. Have a great day. Take care.